Welcome to New Hampshire Politics with John Burt. I'm John Burt, and I want to thank you for joining me today. And today we have a guest, John Hikel, and it's Representative John Hikel. John, thank you for coming on.
Hey, John, how do you do?
Good.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, John's our local representative here in Goffstown. You're on your third term, isn't it?
Third term, yes.
Yes, yeah, I'm only second.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah.
you'll
get there.
Well, that's it. Hopefully next year they'll return me and I'll have three.
Right.
But I guess I thought I'd just have you in and we can talk about what's going on up in the State House. And we are out of session now. This is after July.
Yes.
So we're all done. We passed a budget.
Right.
And there was a couple things that I did want to bring up before we just started wandering off anywhere as we want to go, is the Medicaid expansion, which, some say it isn't, but I say it's Obamacare. That is dead for this year, is from what I understand, for the next 2 years, really.
Yeah, that was in the budget, and that was one of the things that was negotiated out. So
Yes.
it would be a bipartisan agreement between the two parties to agree to pass this budget. My concern always is that with the Democrat majority that they have, they can always bring this back up anytime now because we're still in session.
That's
We're never really out of session until we get reelected. So we're always at the call of the chair or at the call of the speaker. So we can always have us come back. And if somebody says, well, thanks for agreeing to that in the budget, but we decided to bring it back up,
Yes.
or sponsor it next term, it can certainly be alive and well, and they've got the majority to pass whatever they want. So I'm always cautious.
But luckily, we have a pretty strong Senate this year, the next, this term. And I'll be honest, I'm very pleasantly surprised on how well they have stuck together.
Yes.
They almost told me, I talked to a few of the senators, and they said, you know what, it's almost easier to keep 13 kind of together, saying, look, this is the good for what they all believe in, we need to stick together, than having 20
Right.
or 19, because then you always have one running around somewheres, and I guess it's kind of true. It's showing me that it's true this year.
It certainly can be. But 13 to 11 is too close for me.
It is.
And I know some who, I know 2 or 3 that could easily go to the other side, and they have for certain issues, but were convinced, however they do that, that type of thing in the Senate. So I'm always on guard with this. I've learned that, politics is certainly an interesting, it's a bloodless war. I mean, and it really is.
Yeah.
And you've got to understand how, how you can get beat without thinking. It's the ultimate survivor game.
Well, what I'd like to see in 14 is a good candidate that will run against Lou D'Alessandro. He's been there a long time, and I know in 2010, my first term, we had Joe Kelly Lavasser, and what was it, 147 he lost by?
Right.
I mean, it was close.
Yeah, it was real close.
I think if the right candidate came forward, I think Lou could maybe take a retirement.
Well, I would welcome that. I thought of running last year for Senate.
Yes. Yeah.
And I went to all of Ovid's events and all the candidates' events when they came into town. Mitt Romney, every one of them, Santorum, whenever they came in. And I got to talk to all of the key Republicans. And I said I was going to run for Senate, or I was thinking of it. Good, go ahead. That's great. We're happy. That's a great news. Who are you running against? Lou. Oh, no. We're friends with Lou. We've known Lou our whole life. We have voted for him all our life. So, I think Lou is as solid as a rock. In my personal opinion, Joe almost beat him on an off presidential year.
Well, I think that's when you'd have to do it in 14 or 18.
Right.
It couldn't be a presidential
If his
year.
party's down and it's an off presidential year, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But Lou's a real strong candidate, and he's, face it, he's an icon, and he's a great politician. I mean, he's just
Well, I mean,
He's
you know, a
the
lot of
people's.
people. Well, that's it. He knows how to talk to the people. A lot of people like him. You know, I get along with him well.
Right. I get along with him great. I think
You know,
he's.
just his voting record. I'd like to see something different.
We don't agree on. We don't see eye to eye on voting record for sure.
Yeah.
But Lou's very, very strong in that position. I think it'd be an extraordinary candidate that would beat him.
Yeah. Yeah. But with the Obamacare, you know, the expanded Medicaid expansion, you know, hopefully, you know, that's gone for the next couple of years, and you know, because I would really like to see other states see what happens, because the federal government said, oh, we'll pay 90%, and of course, they never do.
Right. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
You know, the first 3 years they said they'd pick up 100%,
Yeah.
and then after that it's 90%. But we all know the federal government never keeps their promise.
No.
They tried that with No Child Left Behind, for instance. You know, and they left. They were supposed to pay, in, I don't know, 35 or 40 something percent. They ended up, which was still a bad deal. We never should have taken it in the first
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
but we did. You know, but then, you know, they end up barely paying 17% or 14%.
That's what I heard. Yeah,
or
14,
something,
16,
right?
17%.
So, you know, don't believe the feds. If we can't afford it, then we shouldn't have it.
That's right. Yeah. And the other one is I wanted to talk about is, you know, just, you know, kind of an off topic was, you know, some fireworks. I've been seeing it in the paper that, you know, that family over in Pelham, and, you know, I'm sorry that situation happened, and, you know, I'm glad everybody turned out, of course, and, you know,
Right.
turned out all right. You know, but they're saying, you know, should New Hampshire have fireworks? And my answer is yes. You know, because bottom line, that family, from everything, you know, and I don't know them personally. I don't even know where it really happened over in Pelham. But, you know, John, the way the way I read everything, it was just pure neglect. Well, you can't legislate, you know.
Common sense.
Yes, common sense.
Right.
You know, so taking my firecracker away,
Right.
you know, when I want to go out on the back lawn with my grandkids
Right.
and say, hey, let's go out responsibly, and all right, you kids stay here, and, you know, Grampy's going to be over here, you know, letting off a few fireworks.
Right.
You know, that's just wrong in my eyes, taking that away from me.
I agree with you. I think that's
Yeah.
you know,
You know, but of course they're going to use the tragedy over in Pelham.
right.
Oh, somebody could have died.
Right.
Well, yeah, yeah,
Right. Somebody could have. That's right.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Luckily nobody did,
it would
but
have been unfortunate for that person if they died, but it should not affect the rights of the rest of us who
Yeah.
want to handle these responsibly and show our children and grandchildren the fun of it. I personally don't like fireworks. I don't care about them. I'm actually, you know, I go see them once in a while on July 4th, but
yeah.
I'm kind of agnostic on that point. But it's a liberty issue, and if you're responsible, you
Yeah.
know, you should have it. If you're drinking and you know, using them irresponsibly, you're going to get hurt.
That's
you know,
right.
And which is much more serious than what an RSA could do to you anyway.
Well, that's it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people have to learn the hard way, unfortunately, and it's tough to think that government is actually going to be able to protect everybody.
Yes, yeah. Well, another bill I wanted to bring up, John, was HB 135, and that's for the viewers. That's Stand Your Ground, which allows. Well, this is a repeal. HB 135 was a repeal. Let me get that straight. What happened is last year or 2 years ago, we passed a bill that allowed the Stand Your Ground, which is if I'm here in the studio or, you know, almost anywhere as I am, I have the right in New Hampshire, wherever I legally can be, I have the right to protect myself.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and the Senate killed the bill, you know, which has made me pretty happy. And I was just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think HB 35, repealing it, was one of the true violations of someone's oath of office. 135 was not a gun bill, for those that think that it was. 135 is a self-defense bill. It's the right of self-defense. And under the New Hampshire Constitution, Part 1, Article 2A, it clearly states that every person all persons have the right to keep and bear arms in defense of themselves, their families, their property, and the state.
That's right.
It's pretty clear, pretty simple. We understand what it means. We don't have to hire anybody to tell us what it means. We know what that means.
Yes.
Right? So for somebody to try to diminish any of our rights through statute, to take away any of our constitutional rights, I feel is a violation of their oath of office, because they swore in their oath to support the constitutions of the New Hampshire and the United States of America and New Hampshire.
Yes. Yep.
So that's why you might have heard of some things that I did a little while ago. I filed a petition of redress to remove 189 legislators that actually voted to diminish the rights of the people of New Hampshire by taking away their right of self-defense. And I think the right of self-defense is one of the most basic rights that any of us can have.
Yes. Yeah. And now, where's the redress now? So it's not in the courts; it's in front of the speaker. Then.
Well, the petition is in front of the speaker right now. I submitted it to the clerk of the House.
Yes.
And she did what she wanted to do with it, and it's gone to the speaker. I'm sure the speaker knows about it. And we're going to wait to see what the speaker does. Hopefully the speaker does the right thing and understands that I've got 540 names or so, plus or minus, people of New Hampshire asking me to sponsor that redress petition. I only need one, but I got 540 of them.
Yeah.
So I sponsored them. I put the names of these people in. And hopefully the speaker doesn't deny the people of New Hampshire their constitutional rights and try to usurp the Constitution by ignoring it, which will be another level of issue that I'll have with the speaker.
Well, I remember the past 2 years we had a redress committee,
Right.
Which I brought one petition forward. And how many petitions did you say there was? 44.
There was a bunch of them, but I know
Yeah.
26 of them.
26. Okay.
26, and they were found. One would be 26 were found
Yeah.
that these people had been greatly wronged by their government.
Yes. Yeah.
And they found, the Committee of Redress found this. The problem with the Committee of Redress, although it's necessary or it's a good thing to have,
Yes.
the Constitution doesn't talk about committee, it talks about redress. And everybody has the right to redress. Part 1, Article 31, written in very simple English. The legislature shall assemble for the redress of public grievance and for the making such laws as the public good may require.
Yeah.
Kind of simple, right?
It is.
That's what we assemble for. It says we shall assemble for the redress of public grievance, not for state drinks or
Yeah.
anything else. And it's in here that we assemble to make a budget and for redress of public grievance.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff that we do sometimes is pretty time consuming.
No, it's a remarkable book, the Constitution, the Articles. Just, you look back, and when they were writing it, if they got caught with this, they could have been in trouble.
Well, at that time, I have a constitution from New Hampshire of 1776. So there was one before. And then when the new corporation was founded in 1784, that's when the new constitution that we have. These are contracts that the people
Yes.
wrote to limit the power of their government. This isn't to limit the people. This limits the government from the government's intrusion upon the people's rights. But again, if you don't know what your rights are,
Yeah.
or if you give them up, you don't have any.
Well, and they need to teach us in school, too.
This should be one of the most important subjects that they teach anybody.
Yeah.
But what would they do if everybody knew their rights? And I think
That's why they don't.
so. We look at this now. I can say this now. It's I think that if I was teaching, I would love if I was running the education department for the state. I would have a teacher of constitutional
Yeah.
material at least for 1 year out of a student's schooling, if not longer.
Yeah.
I think it's that important.
Well, but I think, even right down to the first grade level. Dick and Spot. That's and Sally. That's what I grew up with. That's how I learned how to read.
Right.
The first, one of the books should say, Dick has a right to protect Sally.
Right, right. Dick protected Sally.
Yeah.
Or Sally protected Dick, and and now they.
But now what they want to do is make it sound like guns are scary. And
Right, and 135 has nothing to do with guns.
No,
It's
no,
the
it had-
right to bear arms. It's the
Yes.
right of self-defense. It's diminishing. 135 was going to diminish the rights of the people out there, your viewers. And that's what 135 was going to do. It was going to take away, it was going to take an unalienable right that's granted to them by our Creator to protect themselves and their family and the property and the state. And this, through statute, was going to remove that right. You can't do that.
No.
And if you do that, then I think you violated your oath of office, and I sponsored that petition to have those legislators removed. I'm not fooling around. I didn't go to Concord to for the plate and for the easy pass and for the country club atmosphere, and I didn't go. I go at great expense. It cost me 2 days of my business when I'm in Concord.
Oh yes, yeah.
So if I can't go and defend my Constitution with all of the lives and the people and my friends and family who have defended this Constitution and our country for the last century or more, then I'll just stay home and keep fixing cars.
Well, the problem also, John, is what do we do with the Bloombergs out there? You were there. Yeah, I remember.
I was
seeing
there.
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago, they had Bloombergs going around the country, and he has this bus tour.
Yeah.
And no more victims' names or whatever it's called.
Right.
And since Sandy Hook, the tragedy down there, they're reading names. The problem is they're reading names of cop killers. The Boston bomber.
Right.
I mean, this made world news from what I understand.
Right.
They're reading all these names that they aren't victims. They're
Right.
murderers. And I'm going, what are you doing?
Right. I was standing there and I heard them name the accused Boston bomber
Yes.
that was killed, and they said
As a victim.
As a victim, and they said shot with a gun or something, or killed with a gun or something like that.
Yeah.
Zarnev, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's in the right place right now.
Well, at first when they read his name, I didn't know what the name was. I didn't connect.
I heard it, and I go, what? And I asked the guy next to me, did you just hear what I just, and he goes, I think so.
Well, the crowd went ballistic, and the guy next to me, I said, what's that name? And he says, that's the Boston bomber. And I'm like, oh, he's a victim?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, obviously I'm thankful that happened, because that was just a way to, I mean, that really discredited the whole, but there are some legitimate victims that have been killed by guns and by cars and by secondhand smoke, and there's all kinds of victims out there that have been killed by certain things. These people just don't like guns, and they want to take away our right to bear arms and to defend ourselves and our family. And Mayor Bloomberg certainly has the right to buy a bus. He's a billionaire. He can buy a bus. He can have all he wants. He can hire however many people he wants to go out and speak, and they're certainly welcome to speak on the front of the State House. I have no problem with that. I just have a problem with this particular issue when they started naming names of cop killers and murderers and accused bombers, terrorists. I mean, we know who these people are. And we heard these names, it's like, well, that's a good thing, isn't it? To get, good thing they were victims, and I even heard that Sarnoff, that accused bomber, I thought the news was that he got run over.
Yeah, his brother ran him over.
That's what I heard. I didn't think he was a shooting victim, but he probably had a few bullets in him, hopefully. So it made the car easier.
Well, I don't know if you ever, it was terrible. I probably shouldn't say it online or on TV, but did you ever read some of the posts on the newspaper when they talked about, who's the Halle Car.
Oh yeah, great guy. Yeah.
I listened to
It's a
Halle
riot.
Car the other day, after the bombing. Well, they were calling his brother. They would go speed bump, and they had every
Oh, yeah.
name under the book about him,
Right.
and they were all making jokes about luckily he's dead, but just some of the names they came out. They kept calling him speed bump because
Yeah.
his brother run him over, and it's like, geez, that's bad.
Yeah, well, good thing that they got them. Not,
Yeah.
again, we can talk about how they got them, but I'm glad they did.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for them to, be on the public dole, they're lucky to be here. We accept them into this country. They do something like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, well, I heard
There's
we
not
paid-
enough punishment for these guys.
Well, I heard we paid the family over $100,000 on taxpayers' money.
I'm sure we did, and we educated
yeah.
them, and we did all kinds of stuff. And we probably send them back and forth to visit their relatives. There's a lot of problems here that break down
Yes.
from the way our government treats them versus us, and some of us deserve some some great benefits.
Exactly.
So anyway, hopefully the one that stayed alive will get what he deserves, and I have a feeling he will.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet. I don't know if I see much in the paper on him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You won't hear anything. I mean, it's not news right now. It's only
Yeah.
news instant. The news hounds are searching for something else to
Yeah.
to write about. But it will come back out.
Oh, yeah.
Right now it's Whitey Bulger, so
Yeah, oh, that's true.
Whitey's in the news.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I guess they're going to take his T-shirts back. Somebody I read.
Are they really?
Yeah. What team? Yeah, I'm not a sports fan, so what team was he on?
Whitey Bulger? No. Whitey was the
Whitey
gangster.
Bulger.
That's yeah.
Oh, but who's the sports person
Oh,
that just killed somebody?
Hernandez? Was it the NFL?
Was it the Patriots?
Yeah, the Patriots.
It was.
Yeah, Hernandez,
Yeah, I
right?
think I read somewhere where they were taking T-shirts back of his.
Oh
for
yeah.
credit.
Oh yeah. That's not a.
Well, I wrote on Facebook. I said, "Well, geez, isn't his T-shirt going to be worth something someday? For whatever reason."
Yeah.
And they said, "Yeah, in Walpole."
Yeah.
Which I guess is the Mass State Prison.
Yeah, if he gets that, boy, I'm shocked to hear that news. What a sad tragedy for.
And I think they were paying him $40 million for a contract.
Yeah, but
whatever it was.
This is a gifted guy that has the world by the tail, and he's
Yeah.
doing something that almost every young man would have given their left arm to do.
Yeah.
And it's such a tragedy if all this story unfolding is true. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Well, another gifted person was that guy with the springs on his feet. I think he ran in the Olympics over in Africa.
Right? Yeah, he did.
His girlfriend ends up dead. And
Yeah.
they're kind of looking at it. Well, I guess they did look at him. I guess they accused him of it.
Yeah, I think he's having a difficult time also. Yeah.
And I'm going, geez, here's another
I
gifted
know.
person.
I know.
Yeah, you wonder why people do what they do.
Well, they snap and whatever reason, but
Yeah.
looks like the Patriots player was, I mean, now they're even accusing him of another one or two more or something like that. I mean, they're even talking about,
really?
yeah, they're talking about
Ugh.
things from last summer. I mean,
Yeah. No, I don't know much in sports. My whole family, none of us are into sports. But boy, I know on, a lot of my friends.
yeah. Well, the news is full of all kinds of
Yeah.
goodies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then what was the other team that just came almost won? Was it hockey?
the Bruins.
Yeah.
Oh, the Bruins. Jeez, was that
I heard they were knocking on the door for it, and all of a sudden it was over.
last 17 seconds, 2 goals, bam,
Really?
bam, and
It was
Chicago
that
wins.
close?
Yeah, it was. I thought they were going to win that game.
Wow.
But they really got beat. I mean, two great teams. I mean, absolutely. No, Boston Bruins should be very proud of them. I mean, they did it awesome, but but it stinks coming in second at that level. So
Well, especially with 17 seconds.
yeah, I mean, they got beat. They got beat by a couple games. I think they met a much better team, and at that level, the one who makes least mistakes wins.
Yeah, yeah. And I know our other Goffstown representative, Richard Meany there, he grew out his beard.
Right.
Yeah, grew that out.
Right,
I don't know
yeah.
what that's supposed to do, but
Well, it didn't do anything.
no, well, that's it. It didn't help them.
Right. It helped us. It helped Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then, anything else on the local front? Any other bills that you were thinking?
Gee, the local front. I mean, we talked about the budget for next year. I really want something. I want to bring back redress. I don't mean the committee. I want petitions to be filed. I
Yes,
hope
I
they
do
do.
too.
I hope people out here who have been wronged and they want remedy and they think they deserve it, I hope this is heard in front of the legislature. I was at the archives in Concord, and there are books of redress petitions that stopped around 30 or so, let's say. But before that, from 1690 to 1830, redress was the way to do it. And there are literally thousands of petitions.
Really?
Literally thousands of them. And I go through this sometimes if I have some time and I'm with a friend of mine, Gus, and we'll, and Elaine, we'll go up there and we'll just start reading. And I know that sounds kind of corny, right? But
No.
this really interests me.
Yeah.
I'm a legislator because I want to be. I want to learn more about that, and to go through this experience and not try to learn as much as you can about it, and to embrace all of the information that we have from our past of 250 years or so. I think it's just unfortunate that people don't.
You should grab one of them and put them in a newspaper.
I have some on my phone. I click them, I read them. 1690, 17, right up through the early 1700s.
Wow.
17, you're looking at documents, handwritten documents, 200, 300 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. It's handwritten and you're reading it, you're holding it in your hand and you're saying, wow, I mean, these people had this problem and they brought it to the legislature, they did what they had to do, and it was either remedied or it wasn't remedied, and it would be an additional burden for the legislature, no question. But again, the Constitution says that they shall assemble for the redress of public grievance.
Yes, yeah.
So this is what it says, If you don't want it, amend it out, change the Constitution, do something. But as long as it's in here, this is it.
Yes, yeah.
If the Constitution is in full force and effect. And that's always the question. When they start taking our guns, when they start when they start coming after our rights and we feel helpless, and you hold up the Constitution like stop, this is our protection, and they go, that's not. So I guess we're on that time in our history when we're finding out whether or not it's if the Constitution is in full force, and hopefully the people will rise up and demand that it is.
Yes.
Because as far as I know, it is. The Supreme Court has said that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
Yeah.
So they think it is too.
Well,
But we'll see. Play it out. If we let it go by the wayside, it will be by the wayside.
Exactly.
And try getting it back once it's gone.
That ain't gonna
Ask
happen.
our comrades across the pond.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
They'll tell you how difficult it's been.
Yep, they gave their gun rights up, and now they're sorry.
Australia, Great Britain.
Crime is ridden over
Boy,
there.
how many countries don't have the right to bear arms?
Yeah.
How many countries don't have the right to protect you from illegal, reasonable search and seizure?
Yes. Yeah.
The right to remain silent.
Exactly. No,
Boy.
there's so many.
You give up these rights, you don't have any rights.
That's right.
And I prefer to have all my rights.
Yeah. I
So,
too.
Yep.
Well, we're at the end of the show, and I just want to thank you for coming on, John. It was a pleasure, and especially with the redress, I've learned quite a bit. I didn't realize there was those documents back in
It's huge. It's everybody. If you have any questions, contact me. You know where I am. Maybe I'm at the garage, Uptown Auto on Mass Road
Yeah, and that's
in
next to
Bernardville.
Dunkin' Donuts. And,
Yeah, next to Dunkin' Donuts. I talk cars. I talk politics. Come on over. I mean, it's like it's like Floyd's barbershop in Mayberry kind of some days. We get a group over there talking about all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
But if I could just say, check out a website, www.nhredress.info. I have a copy of the petition that I filed. You can read it. You can see what we wrote. You can sign it online. There's all kinds of ways. Don't let anybody take away any of your rights ever. And if they do, demand your legislators fight for you.
Yes. Yeah.
And don't let anybody take any rights away from you, period. Because once you give it up, you'll never get it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll make sure we get that website up, and we'll give it one more time.
www.nhredress.info. redress.info.
Okay, I'll make sure that's up on the screen and they can write it down. And
Appreciate it.
all right, well, thank you, John.
My pleasure, John.
Yeah,
Anytime.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And again, we had Representative John Hikel with us today, and he's our local representative here in Goffstown on his third term. And I just want to thank him for coming and enlightening us. There was quite a bit of information, and I really enjoyed having him. And until next time, I want to thank you and have a good day. Bye now.
Grampy made this.